my last like solo album before I partnered with Byron was called The Howling Man, and the whole story basically follows. It's like my story, but I use a lot of interstitials that compare the characters from Clerks to the characters from the Howling Man Twilight Zone episode, and it's basically about
Ooh.
how like both of those adversities are so like vastly different, but it's essentially just like somebody yelling at the world about their problems at the end of the day. And so I tried to like correlate that into the stories I was telling.
That's
And
rad.
so any chance I get to talk about Kevin Smith or Rod Serling, I always take advantage of it.
Oh, they're both so insanely good. It's
Yeah.
just Twilight Zone. I must have watched that series, through probably 10 times in my life.
Oh,
It's ridiculous. The guy was ahead of his time.
yeah. Some of the best writing of all time.
Oh, for sure.
Especially back when they were back in the day.
Yeah.
Definitely cutting edge that Twilight
Yeah,
Zone
exactly.
stuff.
Just constantly challenging the norm. I think that's the thing I love the most is like Serling and the other writers on the show like weren't afraid to challenge whatever like was socially acceptable at the time.
For sure. And when he went on to do the Night Gallery, it took it that next step, sort of. Some would say in a not as good of a direction. The Twilight Zone was definitely the best. But the Night Gallery like sort of added another layer to that whole Rod Serling legacy.
And it just Night Gallery is so cool too because there was just always this layer of mystique with like the different paintings from each episode and stuff too.
Yeah.
And so you always had this thing that you like visually had to look out for and you were like trying to figure out how it ties into the episode. And man, dude, all right, I'm jumping around questions a bit, but this kind of we kind of touched on it a bit.